Hello again, everybody. So my dad wanted me to cook for him for his birthday. He wanted fish. The problem is my mom doesn't like fish. So what I did, I cooked salmon and I put a sweet rub on it. And I cooked it on cedar planks soaked in wine. Even my mom said it was delicious. Check this out. So you start by soaking your cedar planks in wine. Now, I didn't have a good deep dish big enough to hold all 4 planks, so I just used a cookie sheet. And I used an entire bottle of white wine. But you want to have those soaking for at least an hour. I did mine a little longer, but at least an hour. And you're going to be flipping these every once in a while. Of course, because this is an easy step-by-step guide, I'm going to show you the basics as well. Okay, we're going to start by cooking the asparagus. First thing I like to do, I just trim off those, even though they're already trimmed. I cut the ends off just so it's a fresh cut right there. Of course, get them real nice and clean. Wash them up. Okay, then you're going to take some tin foil, and that's actually how you're going to cook these. You're going to make tin foil pouches to put on the grill. So you start by throwing some butter in there, like 3-4 scoops. When you make a little cup with the foil, you can hold all that melted goodness inside there. Put your asparagus in with the butter. Use some salt and pepper. You're going to see I like minced garlic on mine. It's pretty important to add that garlic. It makes the asparagus flavor not quite so strong. Also use a little bit of lemon juice in there. Another thing I use is caramelized onion, dried. That just adds that little bit of sweetness. And you're going to see I do the same thing with the salmon. I like a little bit of sweetness to it. So I made 2 pouches. I had so much asparagus that I'm feeding 6 people. So I went ahead and made 2 pouches of the asparagus. Same thing, butter, salt, pepper, lemon juice. Don't forget the garlic. Then you roll that up and make a nice little pouch. Just make sure it's closed up on all the sides. Make sure it won't leak out as well. So the opening to the roll has to be on the top. All right, don't forget to flip your boards. Make sure that they're getting soaked all the way around and that wine is permeating into the boards. Okay, now it's time for the salmon. So you want to get salmon steak, fresh salmon steak with the skin on. That's important. I just got 2 big steaks because I'm feeding so many people and I'm cutting them into thirds. If you can, I prefer to get the fresh, unfrozen salmon. It's a little more, but it has more flavor than the frozen salmon that you have to thaw out. Be careful when buying. If it's too red, it's too dry. If it's too white, it's too fatty. So try to find a fine balance between those two. So the first thing I do is I use extra virgin olive oil or just olive oil. And make sure that you put a real good coating all over, including the skin side. That's going to keep the moisture inside the fish as you're cooking. Now you can use your favorite seasoning or favorite rub after you put the olive oil on. I prefer like a hickory or a maple syrup base. In this case, I kind of use both actually. That syrup is going to add the sweetness. The same thing I was telling you about with the asparagus, the maple syrup base, and kind of put a hickory rub on it as well. When it's ready, it should look nice and juicy and coated with your rub. All right, go ahead and check your asparagus. Make sure that's cooking nicely. When it gets, you can tell when it's done. When they start softening up a little bit, you can tell that they're ready to come off. Ooh, doesn't that look good? They're soaked in that butter with those minced onions on it. All right, let's go ahead and pull your boards out of the wine. Let them drip off a little bit, but make sure they're very, very moist. And put them on the grill. You're going to heat and char one side of the board. It doesn't have to be a lot, just a little, just enough to put the char marks on it like you see there. Then flip them over and put the steak skin down. That's important. If you do it this way, it's going to stay moist as well. The fire won't dry the fish out. Now, cover them from 10 to 15 minutes. It depends on the size. Some of these steaks, as you can see, are a little smaller. They're not thick. You can get some really thick salmon steaks, and those you want to put on for 15 minutes. These I left on for about 11, 12 minutes. Now pull the steaks. Set for 3 minutes. You want to let them sit for 3 minutes before you serve them, okay? That's all of them. I add a little bit more salt and pepper. And these things are ready to go. So now you know how to make the perfect salmon steak. With a side of asparagus, you can't go wrong. Make sure you follow these instructions with the sweetness to go along with it. A little bit of zestiness from the lemon juice. And you're sure to impress. All right, you guys enjoy.